Hi everybody, welcome to Before It's Too Late. I'm Rich Carter. In this week's video, you're going to meet Rebecca. Rebecca and her husband had a idea about what their retirement was going to look like, when they were going to retire, and what they needed. And then life threw a little bit of a curve at them, and they decided to pull the trigger a bit earlier. Stick around for Rebecca's story. But first, I'm doing these interviews, and now it's with people that I don't know. And if you'd like to be one of those people, go ahead and send me an email at beforeitstoolate2023@gmail.com, and we'll work on a time and we'll try to get you set up to do an interview. It's great. I think people are learning from these. I hope you're learning from these. So yeah, if you're willing to, drop me an email and let's get this thing going. All right, now on with Rebecca. Okay, so Rebecca, welcome to the channel here. I appreciate you taking the
Yep.
time out of your day to share your retirement journey, or maybe it's your husband's retirement journey with us. So as we get started here, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and where you're at in the retirement part of your life?
Okay. I am the wife of a retiree. Uh, I am not currently working a job. I have not worked an actual paycheck job in probably close to 20 years. Um, I I started out with a career, and then we had children, and our decision was for me to stay home with the children, certainly until they went to kindergarten. That plan changed when we decided to homeschool. So
Okay.
I stayed home and homeschooled children. I took a part-time job in the middle of that because my husband was downsized from a company and we needed money. And
Right.
so it was all hands on deck. But after that, I graduated out 2 kids, and then I became my mom's caregiver who lived next door to us. And I was her caregiver until she passed away in November of 2023.
Okay. And what
And
what did your
so
husband do?
and my husband, he worked as a chemist, and he, worked for he's worked for 2 large companies. One large company, he worked, in working on chemistry equipment. So he repaired chemistry equipment.
Okay.
He was trained in the lab, knew how to work on lab equipment. And when he was downsized from that job, one of his customers knew that he was needing a job, and he said, "Hey, we might have something for you at a large company here in town." And so he ended up working there for 21 years, and
Okay.
he's been retired, and I'll tell why and all of that. But he's been retired for a year and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 months. So we're getting toward the 18-month mark, I guess, if I think about it like that. We'll
Okay.
be, I guess it's 17 months now.
And if you don't mind me asking, how old are you guys?
My husband is currently 63 and I am currently 57.
Okay. So he retired at 61
61.
and a half or so. And
Yeah, he was right. Yes. Right before he turned 62. He
okay.
was yeah, he was 61 when he retired. Yes.
And I'm sure you're like most of the rest of us in I guess middle income America, that you're thinking,
Hmm.
okay, well, 65 is the year, whatever.
Correct.
What made the two of you decide that it was 62 and not 65?
So interestingly enough, 2023, we had gone in the summer. Basically, I think it was around July, and we had talked about, um, we need to look at things to make sure we're on track to retire at 65 because, as I said, I have not worked. And so I was all on his income, all on what he had in retirement. So we made an appointment with a financial advisor that we trusted, and we went in and looked at things and went through. If anyone's done a financial advisor meeting, you go in and they ask you, what are you looking to do in retirement? How much do you spend now? How much do you plan to spend? Just these basic types of things. And that's what we did in July. And we were aiming for 65 because
Right.
for 2 reasons. One, Medicare, and 2, his company, had a certain level of, for lack of a better term, points toward retirement. And if you got to this level, then you got these benefits. It might be more money and a pension or more of something. All companies are different, but
Right.
lots of the larger companies have these things. So that was what we had done in the summer. And then a couple of months later, my mom had been, I won't say declining in health, but she was in her early 80s, and she had just attributed everything to getting older. She
Hmm.
was slowing down and she wasn't doing as much. And then she fell and was like, wow, does your doctor know you're having these problems? And then it ended up the next month she was in the hospital and they thought she had an infection. They treated it, they sent her home. And then 9 days later, she was back in the hospital and we found out there was more wrong than we thought. And to make a long story short, she apparently had developed sepsis, and we didn't know. Um, she had an autoimmune disorder, and she had some internal things. And what she thought was just getting older was actually getting sicker.
Wow. Okay.
And whether anything could have been done or not been done is a separate question. But
Right.
the long and short of it is, she passed away 2 days before Thanksgiving in 2023.
Okay.
So,
I'm sorry.
um,
Sorry for your loss.
yeah, appreciate that. I'm an only child, and so my husband is my family. My father passed away many years ago. Um, and so when he was helping with my mother and then helping sort through all of her legal affairs, which is um, something I'll probably mention later in the interview, but basically, um, I had a lot of things to sort out
Okay.
because she had not revisited some of her plans. And my husband was off from work for off and on during these weeks. And then he was back to work in the beginning of December. And then Christmas time, his plant shut down for 2 weeks and he was back home. And I got to listening to some of the retirement things that happened and just kind of got to thinking, time is short. We're not going to live forever. And I don't want to waste time not being with the man I married and have been married to for 35 years now.
Right.
That's what we wanted to do. So that was where the whole retirement idea came in the first place.
Okay. So you started talking to him about, hey, I know we've been saying 65 all this time, but why? Like, why would we wait if we can live on what we've got now? What's the point of taking a chance that those 2 more years might be too many, or 3 more years,
That's
I'm
right.
sorry, might be 3 too
Well,
many.
and I spoke with him about doing this interview, and he said he thought it was important for me to mention that I was concerned about him retiring before this. I mean, he had talked about retiring, not that he was going to retire early, but he would just talk about retirement, and I would just kind of freak out, like, "Well, what are you going to do when you retire?" I mean, And we got to talking about it, and a lot of people probably have the same thing, especially as a spouse. There's two things that we think about with retirement. One is you get sick and you have to quit. And
Right,
that happened with both of our fathers. They both worked until they were too ill to work. And the other thing is people who retire and they don't have a plan for anything. Like one of my friends, her husband retired from being a car salesman, and the first thing he did is his first day home, he cut off their cable system and signed up for satellite TV, but they weren't going to come install it till the next week. And she said, "Okay, I'm ready for him to go back to work." And so these are the two kinds of things that we've heard about what retirement is. And but but the truth is retirement is what you make it. It doesn't have to be these things. We do get to decide what we're gonna do in retirement. You don't have to sell everything you own and go move to one of the 2 states that everybody says you have to move
right, for sure,
to do that either.
right. So what is, so you've been a stay-at-home mom, been doing some other things, so you kinda had
Mhm,
your home routine. Did you
mhm.
find out when your husband was home, did it get messed up, or did you just adjust and start to enjoy the togetherness maybe?
So there's a little bit of both on that. One of the things I told him, I said, "Okay, we have to share this master bathroom. We're both home all the time. You cannot have a master bathroom all the time." Um, yeah, I mean, there's been some adjustment, yes. Um, However, we have lives where we share some interest and we don't share other interest. And I think that's really important. Even while you're working, you need to have lives outside of just each other. You can't be everything to each other.
Right.
If you don't have something that you enjoy outside of your husband or wife, then you're going to probably have a little problem.
So kind of on that topic of, having separate interests a little bit. I mean, yeah, you hear a lot of people who say, my spouse is my everything, and that's great. And that, maybe it's a platitude, maybe it's not, I'm not sure. But the truth of the matter is tomorrow's not a guarantee, and it's definitely not a guarantee for a couple. You don't know what the next doctor visit or what the next even trip to the grocery store is going to bring, right? And it's important to have some things to do that don't involve your spouse. I mean, maybe not a whole big circle of friends where you have to actually decide who's more important, but it's more of a like, hey, if you like to go play golf and I don't, have at. That's, a couple hours a
E
week or yeah.
exactly. We have, I mean, we have different interests. Um, he does astrophotography. I was trying to figure out how to say that. Astrophotography. And I love to go outside and look at stars and go, "Ooh, pretty. What is that?" And he shows me the pictures and they're gorgeous, but he'll stay outside for hours doing astrophotography overnight. And I'm like, "Yeah, have fun."
Right.
And I play music, and he doesn't he'll tell you he can't play the radio,
Okay.
but he does run my sound system, and that's one of the things that we're looking toward how to do the things that I want to do with music.
Okay.
And so it's nice to have different things that you enjoy,
Okay.
but we also, I mean, we have a relationship where we like being together.
Right.
We
Right.
like being at home together. We like going to the grocery store together sometimes.
Right.
Although I found out when he goes to the grocery store, it's more money than if I go.
My wife would say the same thing. My wife definitely. We can't go to Costco. She needs to go by herself. Otherwise, I always find new things to try.
Exactly. He makes jokes about how we'll go to the store for 2 things and we're $200 later,
Yeah,
and nobody
100%.
bought a television, and nobody bought anything
Right.
of
Right.
great value. We've got 9, 10, 7, 8 bags of stuff. Stop it. Yeah, and you can have a dog at home too, there's this.
Okay. So you guys retired before 65. So one of the big questions everybody struggles with is what am I going to do about insurance if I don't work until 65 when Medicare kicks in? So what did you guys find in that area?
So that was an interesting question, and, we knew my husband knew that his company offered insurance to retirees, but we didn't know how that worked. And I think that my concerns about retiring would have been very different had I really understood. So, one thing I would recommend is if you work for a company that has a nice health plan and you know that they offer something in retirement, find out what the rules are. Find out what that is, because you may be worrying about that for absolutely no reason whatsoever. It
Right.
turns out for us that the company's health insurance, the only thing that changes when you retire is your group number. You have the same insurance available to you. Oh, and your premium.
Right.
But but it turns out also in my husband's case that his company offers a pension, and they take the health insurance premium out of your pension. So it's a way that they kind of are providing it for you.
Okay.
I didn't know that. He didn't really know that. We just knew that people retired and they kind of had health care. But if you know what the specifics are, if you know exactly what you're getting into, then you can make an informed decision
Yeah, and that's
about
that's
when you retire.
that's kind of what I mean. Even if your company doesn't offer something like that,
Mhm,
just saying to yourself, "I can't afford it until I'm 65 because of insurance." I mean, that could very well be true, but
mhm,
go find out. Like, go out on the Affordable Care Act, whatever the website, the government website, find out what it's going to cost, or go to a broker, find out what it's going to cost. Don't just assume it's going to be too expensive. And like in Robbie and mine's case, we had been planning, and here's X amount. We're going to have to spend this amount on insurance if I retire before
mhm.
65. And it turns out we don't have to spend quite that much. So, we're coming out
Correct.
ahead. So, but again, so many people just think, oh, I have to work until 65 because then I won't have insurance otherwise. Well, that's not
Absolutely, and
necessarily
that's
true.
what we thought. And with our age difference, that was the other thing because I'm younger than my husband.
Mhm.
But in our case, his company provides insurance for the spouse until it I mean, it's the same. Nothing
Okay.
changed. I
Right.
still have insurance. I don't have to go hunt some other insurance. And also in his company's case, they offer a Medicare supplement option. And
Okay.
so we have that available to us when that time comes. We're not at
Right.
that point, but I got all the information. I read all of it. I did work previously at one of my many little forays of jobs in insurance. And so
Okay.
I am able to read those things myself.
Right.
But there everybody wants to help you with insurance.
Mhm.
Everyone knows that insurance is a problem.
Right.
And if you're working for a company that has insurance, they've got likely some kind of HR department. Just call them.
Right.
It doesn't cost anything to ask the question. Questions are your friend, not your
Right.
enemy when you're talking about retirement.
Okay, so your husband retired at 62, and I don't mean to pry, but did you guys decide you're gonna take Social Security right away, or are you waiting a while?
We did take Social Security. He made that decision based
Okay.
on um, the life expectancy
Mhm.
that he has and basically his genetics, his parents, and things like that. And also that break even age everyone talks about.
Right.
Um, he just decided that the break even age for him is 80
Uh-huh.
and he didn't want to take a chance. He said, if I make it to 80 and I lose money, so be it.
Right. Well,
I don't care.
you'll be used to what you're getting by then, and you won't notice that it's a problem, right? So I think
That's
yeah.
correct.
Yeah, and I
And
think that
honestly, oh, I was gonna say
no.
one thing, and honestly, we know too many people who chose not to take Social
Mhm.
Security and then they never drew it.
Right. Yeah,
They were
again,
gone.
same thing, like, I'm making a decision to probably wait on mine for right now, I'm gonna wait till as long as I can, but who knows, that may change if depending on how life circumstances change, right? And I think that, again, it's a decision that each person has to make for themselves, and it just factors into the equation. Like what you said about
Mhm,
going to talk to a financial guy, I'm sure he told you, "If you take it here, here's what your portfolio is gonna look like. If you take it here, here's what your portfolio is gonna look like." All these
mhm,
things. And it just helps make a decision. And then you, as a retiree or a retiree spouse, in your case, just have to be comfortable with it and not look back, right? And not like, oh, I
that's
wish we would
correct.
have. Yes, you didn't, so just move forward.
Yeah. Well, our financial guy actually told us, and I think this is a valuable thing to share. He said that before his parents died, he always recommended waiting till 70.
Hmm.
Then his father died at 69 and his mother died at 68, and they died within a short time frame of each other.
Hmm.
And he revisited that idea
Yeah, that makes
because
sense.
you didn't know. And he says now he looks at it very differently. And in our case, because I don't have a lot of work history, I don't have Social Security. It's my husband's Social
Right,
Security. And so we went ahead, decided to take it. I mean, we have we have his what do you call it? The 401k type thing. That's what
right.
it's called.
Okay,
And he has that is what we, have outside of Social Security and pension.
okay. All right. So as we're kind of wrapping up here, then like I try to ask people like, what if you could go back and tell your childbearing self or your 20-year-old 29-year-old 35-year-old self one thing about preparing for retirement or something about preparing, what would you tell that person? What do you think's the most important?
So first of all, I would save early. Put that money away. If your company has a match, go ahead and do that. That was wonderful for us over many years. He's worked for 2 companies with matches.
Hmm.
So from financial standpoint, do that. It's free money. You'll thank yourself later. As far as retirement, I would say that plan plan to do it sooner. Look at what your life can be. You don't have to be sick to retire. You don't have to be a billionaire to retire.
Right.
And I think we get trapped in that. And from a spouse standpoint, I would say that you need to talk to each other about what that is. I didn't know how to talk to my husband about what retirement looked like, and he didn't really know how to talk to me either about it because nobody talks about it. Now we have all these channels where people are coming out, and I love the fact that a lot of us are Gen X that are coming out and saying, "Hey, it's not so
Right.
bad. You look into it."
Right.
It's a different thing. We have the home that we live in, and as opposed to some people that do vacations, we're making our home the place we want to live the
Hmm.
rest of our lives,
There you go.
and that's a great thing. But I really do think that retirement is changing for
Right.
those of us who are in our 50s. Even
Hmm.
I've talked to some people in their 40s who are looking at it now, going, maybe I don't wanna wait until I'm 65. Maybe I want to, or maybe I just want a change of career even.
Right. Yeah.
Retirement doesn't mean that you do nothing. That's the other thing
Yeah,
I
I
would
just I,
say.
I just interviewed a guy this morning, and I don't know whether his interview will come out before or after yours, but he retired at 52, and his deciding factor was, I just wasn't getting any joy from work anymore, and
Mhm.
I felt like work was a grind, and I same thing that we've already talked about. I'd looked at the numbers, and I decided I didn't need to be a billionaire, in your words, to
Yeah.
get out. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna go try to enjoy my life a little bit instead of dreading going to work. So I'm with you
Exactly.
100%. If you can do it, don't let that number 65 or some imaginary threshold in your bank account be the deciding factor. Figure out if you can do it and then go enjoy your life.
That's right. Yeah, there's a line in one of the, movies, I think it's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where one of the characters says, "Money is common."
Yeah.
You may
Yeah.
not have a lot of it, but you can get more money, or you can do less things with it. You
Right.
can manage.
Yeah, and you can't
And
get your
and
time
that's
back.
yeah, that's kind of what we've discovered. And like I said, we're almost 18 months into this, and we don't have any regrets. There's no regrets at all. Um, we're happy with it. My husband, certainly he enjoyed what he did. By the same token, there was a point at which you'd kind of realize, okay, yeah, this is kind of as far as I'm going to go. So
Right.
how much more do I? And I am actively talking to a family member who I don't think necessarily needs to retire, but needs to know what retirement looks like so that that family member can make a decision when that time comes. They're in a very high stress, high powered position, a little younger than I am, and you can't buy your health.
Right.
You
Hey,
just can't.
I'm gonna plug my own channel. Send them to my channel and have them watch some of the stuff
Right.
about you never know what tomorrow's gonna bring, and people get sick earlier than ever. And hey, if you can
Hmm.
get out and retire and enjoy life, do that.
That's right, and I love your channel before it's too late because it's exactly the truth. I mean, that's what drove us to the retirement conversation. I mean, I saw that my mom was gone. This was my family is my husband
Hmm.
at this point, and I didn't want to spend more time without him. He was gone 8 to 9 to 10 hours a day counting the commute. And just the weekends, no, that wasn't really and then my exact words to him were, "I'd rather you retired sooner than later. I'm not pushing you. You'd rather you retired sooner than later." And we went and met with the financial guy again, and then we looked through all the paperwork, and he turned in his notice, gave them 90 days, I think it was, and, retired May 1st of 2024.
And no regrets, and you haven't looked back. That's awesome.
No regrets, haven't looked back at all. No, sir, we would do it all over again.
Good for you. Okay. Well, but Rebecca, again, I want to really thank you for being willing to come on and share your story, and maybe that inspires some other folks to, no matter what you're doing or where you're at in life, those imaginary numbers or goalposts that our generation has put out there for ourselves,
Mhm.
they are adjustable. Figure it out and adjust them to what fits your personal situation, right?
That's right, and if you're the wife, you it's everybody asks me, "Should we have sympathy for you?" It's like, "No, I'm the one who asked him to retire."
Good for you.
That's
Yeah.
that's one of the things that as a wife, I know some of the husbands may be in the situation, but as a wife, you will enjoy it more than you think, maybe. And don't believe all those people who have these stories that it's, "Oh, I just that drives me cra" No. if you had a good life before, you'll have a good life in retirement.
Awesome. Okay. Well, again, thanks, Rebecca. And anybody out there, anybody willing to share their story, uh, probably at the beginning of this, I will have talked about that and shown you the email address to reach out to. That'd be great. Um, I've yet to find somebody that would say to me, I wish I would have waited longer. So if you're that person, really reach out to me. I'd like to know why. But again, thanks everybody for watching. Thank you, Rebecca. God bless everybody.
Thanks.